Oh, and one of them I just saw that I can't actually let you see. So I'm glad I spotted that. Let me take that away. That was entertaining.
Hi, I'm George the Antique Nomad. Come with me as I wander the country in search of valuable vintage, amazing antiques, and cool collectibles. We'll buy, sell, and trade at antique malls, shops, and shows, estate sales, flea markets, thrift stores, anywhere people go to find really interesting things that just aren't made anymore. So come on, let's go!
Well, welcome to the before and after of the estate sale. This is the last in the series of videos on this big estate sale that we've been handling in Florida. And this one is going to show you the night before. So resellers, get your pens out because you're going to get to see how things are priced at an estate sale. And we price things to sell. You will see a lot of things and a lot of prices. We'll talk about some of them as we go, and some of them you'll just have to freeze that video and take a look. Well, hey everybody, it's George the Antique Nomad, and I am going live one last time before the estate sale. I wanted to do this walkthrough for you, but I also wanted to show you what we've been working on the last, almost, I think it's been about 10 days. Today we had 5 of us knocking it out so that we'll be ready for tomorrow morning when the sale starts. The other reason I wanted to film this was the lady of the house, this is a big deal. They're letting go of a lot of memories here. The gentleman of the house, I know it's been very difficult for both of them, even though they're, moved to a place that's easier to deal with and everything is in the right direction. It's still, it's letting go. And she said, I'd really like to have a video to show my daughter. They raised the daughter here. And I thought this is great, so I can bring it to you as well. Let's go in here and you're going to see, if you've seen prior videos, I've done a handful from here as we've gone through the process. You will see some things that are familiar, but we spent a lot of time cleaning all of this glass. We have a lot of smalls up front. I'm also going to talk about the estate sale process and what we do. We try to put a lot of fun and interesting things up front in a house, and we also try to put the smalls in a place where they're easy to watch for. We don't have a lot of problem with security. We're going to limit the number of people because of the situation right now, but when you have a lot of people in one place, people really do treat things with respect by and large. There are a couple of, yes, the guns. Those are BB guns. We're not selling any rifles or anything. This one is a pellet gun. And when I price, I really do try to price with resellers in mind. The idea is that in a estate sale, we've got 3 days to empty out a whole house. And this house is a very full house. So lots of little fun collectible stuff up front. Still loving that Pelican. The speakers, there is a lot of good sound equipment in this estate because the fellow is a musician. And so even though these are old school, these Zenith Allegro, they go for $175. So we priced them at $85. One thing you'll notice is that there's strips of paper on the large items. Furniture and things, we don't want people in the middle of a sale having to hold on to a piece of furniture for dear life in hopes that no one else gets it. So we make it easy for them. You peel off the strip and you take it to one of us, we mark it sold, and you get to keep shopping, and then the cashier gets the slip, and then we move the piece of furniture when you're actually ready to take it away. Makes a lot more sense than having people trying to do that self-service in the middle of the sale. That just doesn't work well. Somebody who knows sound equipment should be pretty happy. There's an old horn, there's a bunch of patches. We did find a bunch of pennants. There's one old felt and then a bunch of sports stuff. These are Swarovski chandelier parts, and it's the boxes of crystal. You just don't see the boxes of crystal, so that may seem like a high price, but price out crystals and then Swarovski on top of it, I think it's actually something that might sell to somebody who knows or needs them. The gal on the right looks just like Royal Dalton. Surprisingly, she's not, even though she's a dead ringer for it. And the one on the left, I believe, is Lefton. We have a table full of perfume that has grown and grown. There is a little bit of amber jewelry in the midst of the general costume here, and a lot of watches. There is one set that has pearl. There are a bunch of belt buckles that we found. So there is just a ton of stuff. And then there's a couple of really beautiful coats. There are some nice clothing pieces here, which we'll show you in a little bit. The black fur, we have a high price on it, but it was very expensive new. And I recently sold one for about the price we have on it. So I don't think it's actually out of reach. The kitchen looks like most kitchens do. Lots of practical things. There are some other vintage things in here too, but in estate sale, we're really selling everything. So it's everything in the house. It's old, it's new, it's in between. I thought these were really cool. Where will the info be listed? Well, the advertising is going out right now. It'll be on estatesales.net. It will also be on my Florida website, tampabay-estatesales.com. And it will be on Craigslist. It'll be in the social media. So, yes, there's your connection for you, your link. There's some fun teapots. They're mainly novelty. This is the state of Florida that we're in. And so if you're anywhere near the Gulf Coast of Florida, we're just outside of St. Petersburg. There's a very 80s mirror. Now this room is pretty straightforward stuff, but again, it's an estate sale. So we've got a lot of practical things. We have a ton of office supplies. We've got a bunch of printers. We've got printer ink. We have a sign here that kind of says it all, I thought. A cluttered desk is the mark of genius, at least if you look at mine. It's certainly a sign of genius, I hope. Genius or insanity, one of those things. This needs a little bit of cleaning up. It's very 80s. People loved these, then they decided they were tacky. Now people are starting to love them again. It's mixed media with painting and mirror, but skyscraper scenes were really big in the 80s. And there's one for you there. A couple of house art trays here amongst the various individual pieces. We've got some nice brass pieces too, the little crown there. But the house art out of Pennsylvania, they made these little glass trays. This one is for Walt Disney World at Cinderella's Castle from right after they opened. And this one says, I don't care if the doctor did say alcohol rub. Get your olive out of your navel. High humor from the 60s. And then there's Minnesota. And then there's spaghetti Western time. So there is just a ton of stuff here. Here's some of the clothing. There's some nice pieces here. This one on the left is an Oleg Cassini. And it's very soft, I have to say. There's fur hats. There's the vintage hat that looks like a poodle hat up in the top there. And then again, in the practical realm, we've got a lot of this sort of personal care stuff, and some of it's pretty good. There are two different garages in here. This one was sort of an overflow where they're just sort of storing things in general, so it's turned into kind of a catch-all. But there's a couple of things that are worth highlighting that are vintage. Lots of speakers, again, tons of sound equipment in this house. We're going to go into a room in a minute that is nothing but. But in here, and speaking of which, we have the classic old school organ. This is sort of a catch-all, but it is where our Christmas and Hanukkah display is. Now, I'm a vintage hunter. I like antiques and vintage, and that's what I generally gravitate towards. That's what I buy and sell for my own reselling business. And so for people like me, this part of the house is not the most exciting part. But for general resellers, this part of the house is definitely the place that you can make money, because lots of antique dealers know to go to estate sales, but a lot of resellers don't. They wait till it hits the thrift store. Well, you're getting it last in line if you're waiting for it to hit the thrift store. At an estate sale, you can get it oftentimes for the same price, sometimes even less, and sometimes in great quantity, especially if you're willing to wait until the last day when they need to move a lot of merchandise. Yes, this house is very packed. That's why it took 2 weeks to get this together. I usually can do it in one. This small desk is brand new, never been used. And then next to it, we have this old bakery shelf. And that is going to be something out of the 1950s, I would say. In fact, there's two of those. We also have this metal card file. These are very popular now. It used to be this was the type of thing that people were getting rid of because we were moving to the paperless society. Anybody remember all that hype? Well, guess what? We use more paper than ever. And people are working from home now. The guy kept a lot of tools. They had rental property. They also had a storm at this house, so they had some problems here and bought extra stuff to take care of it. some of the problems you may see as we go through, but I believe the point of the estate sale in part is to get it cleared out so that they can actually fix those and get this going again so someone else can enjoy this house as much as they did over the years. There's the old light bright. If you saw us on the attic, and there it is, it made it to the shelf. And I like this little bartender guy. He's got a good look. I haven't put a battery in him to see if he operates. If he does, then he's a pretty good value for $5. And then books. There are a lot of books here. Some of these are Russian. Oh, and one of them I just saw that I can't actually let you see, so I'm glad I spotted that. Let me take that away. That was entertaining. Yeah, well, I didn't mean to swing around, but I had to because otherwise I'd have shown something that would get us in trouble. We do find things that are of an intimate nature in houses when we're preparing an estate sale. This is where people lived. We'll find personal papers, we'll find old photographs, we'll find their signature on things. We put all of that aside and give it back to the client. And then sometimes we find things that are, well, of an adult nature. Some of those things we just don't want out where the public can see them, depending on how ribald they are. And some of them we just discreetly throw away. We just do what we think is in the best interest of the client. We don't want to embarrass anybody. But they do have some interesting art books too, and some pop culture. They've got a book on Michael Jackson. They've got a book on Harry Winston, the jeweler. They've got a book on Dutch and Flemish paintings and Chagall and Modigliani. So their tastes were varied. And then they do have books from Russia. This family originally was from Latvia. And so they brought some, including some children's books. It's a very specific market, but actually I found that Russian language items, records particularly, can do very well online. So if somebody understands that, then they may actually be able to do something with some of those. So we figured we should leave those in the sale and hope that we get someone who knows the language. We expect to sell a lot of this stuff, but some of it's very specialized. If we don't get someone who understands why the PV speakers, which are actually semi-professional, like you can use on stage, if they don't get what that's about, well then we're going to have to sell it to some other way. So I believe some of this will go to auction, some will be donated, and I believe it'll be a mix of those two things that will clear out the rest of the house. It is a lot of hard work, I will say. This one especially has been difficult. We've been up in the attic, we've been in garages. This house, because they weren't living here, became a repository for things from all the other houses and the rental properties, and so it became rather overstuffed. And there is something for everyone. I usually don't like to say that, but I think in this house there really is. The sale will be on 2 floors, and we'll show you the other floor in a moment. This rug was just discovered today. This is actually from Russia. They brought it with them. And then we're going to walk into this room. The last time you saw this room, it was piled deep. And now, well, it's pretty organized. We've got sofas. We've got a table down the middle with all sorts of different things. We've got a bunch of interesting minerals that were a collection from the family. We have this piece, which looks like it's part of something from a church. We have a number of various badges. Now this is a nice old frame, and I think that we have honestly underpriced it quite a bit because I usually get about $45 for these. And so if you look on the back here, it does look like an older one from the way the tabs are, so we will have to check that one out a little bit. I might have to price that a little higher. We do have to keep in mind that we are here to benefit the client, and we also want to make resellers happy, and there's a fine point in the middle. There is a ton of stuff on these tables priced at or under $3. We have stuff as little as $1/4 here. So there's definitely room for people to make money at an estate sale. I did price up the frame. I marked it up to $20 because I really felt an antique dealer would come along and pay that. And you know what? It was true. An antique dealer came along and paid that because they're going to put 45 or 50 on it in their shop. So that's enough room for them to have some margin. Even if they sell it online, that's enough room to make some profit, ship it, and get it to somebody. And so that's the sweet spot. Frankly, the client deserved the extra $10 minus our commission, and we deserved our commission because we did a ton of work here. So my rule is with the crew, if somebody likes something better than I do, they can mark up the price. And in this case, I liked it better than the crew member who priced it, and I marked up the price and it sold. This is a neat 1930s Seth Thomas clock with the ship's wheel, and it's electric. And then there's some Russian painted wood pieces. There's just a host of different things here. We moved in the old guitar here. And there are some really pretty things here. I think people will enjoy this sale. I've got the auto row up here. And the clock is very fancy and old-fashioned looking, although it's not really old. Now, before we go upstairs, because upstairs is going to be... Oh, thank you. I think we have done a nice job on the displays. I had help from so many people to do this because it was just such a big job. And everybody kind of did their own thing, and they really did it well. It's so nice to work with people who enjoy putting things together and are just sort of self-motivated. I'm going to take this out. It'll be a little hard to see, but this is a swag lamp from the 1980s, and it needs to be cleaned up a little bit, but I think this could be really cool. It's definitely got a look, and it's definitely of the era, and they could plug right in. And they're priced at $35 each. I'm finding that swag lamps like that sell for $85 to $100 now, potentially in a retail space. Now, we are outside. You won't be able to see a lot because it's kind of dark out here, but we're on the canal. This is waterfront. You can see the reflection from the other houses. It was a lovely sunset today. There are tons and tons and tons of rods, reels. It was a huge job. It will take 3 days to see everything because it took us 10. There's a neat old sewing machine here. There's a whole table full of pet stuff. There's more fishing reels and rods down here. It just goes on and on. We've got tons of plastic bins. We've got patio furniture that you can't really see right now, so you'll just have to take my word for it. It spilled over into the backyard. There was just so much. It was the only place it could go. So we put all the weatherproof stuff out here, and it is happily out here and going to stay there. Yeah, I'm amazed how much we got done in 2 weeks too, honestly. It was so much work, and I am tired, but we really had a good crew. I mean, look at the way that the one gal just really turned this essentially into a boutique, which was great because we found some nice clothes. There's a lot of stuff with the tags still on it. There's this nice burled cabinet that lights up, and a ton of purses. I mean, there's one that was $99.99. It still has the tag on it. And, you know, someone who comes here will probably get it for, I imagine, $20 or $30. I haven't seen how they price that yet. This one is fun. This is Oleg Cassini, and this is something that I'm sure that the fellow wore when he was performing, because look at that great. Let me see if I can get it out where it's a little more visible for you. Oops. Let me drop it on the ground. That won't really help us at all. There we go. This is Oleg Cassini, and it is fancy, fancy. This is all hand painted on here. I just think that's a whole lot of fun. I don't wear suit coats much, but if I was going to wear one, well, you know, I think this would get you noticed. I just thought it was really wild and fun, and a lot of it's fun to see people having fun, you know, and these folks did have a lot of fun here, you can tell. And then in here, we showed this before, but I'll show you kind of the finished product. This is this nice 1980s Art Deco bedroom set, which I think is going to last about 5 minutes when we open. And more clothes. I apologize for the chirping. I can't really do anything about that. It's the security system. No one can figure out quite how to make it stop doing that. But there you have it. This is upstairs. And if we were in an earlier time of evening, I could show you a wonderful view from the upstairs here, but you can't really see it. But I will show you this. I've shown it before. We cleaned it. Someone spent an hour cleaning every single crystal. It is Swarovski. It is amazing. They sell for as much as $1,500. Okay, so we're going to go back downstairs. You're going to see a little bit of a white wall here for a minute while I turn off a light or two, because there's one more place I want to show you. I'll try to show you a few different things that we didn't see the first pass through. This was the Florida room on the house originally, and that's why you see a sliding glass door. A lot of times they would add on and enclose the Florida room. Everywhere else they call them a screen porch, but here it's a Florida room. And we've got some old-time coffee percolators. So much art. There is quite a bit, actually. It is quite a difference. Yes, it is pretty neat and orderly. I'm very proud of what we were able to do. You know, there are certain things you'll see down here. Watch your step. We have to make sure that people are safe while they're here, because people get excited and they're looking at the merchandise. They're not necessarily looking at the floor or where they're walking. It looks like someone trying to get in through the sliding glass blinds. Yes, I have to admit it does, but that's actually where the stuff that folks are keeping is in that room, and I think something must have shifted and fallen against the blinds, and I'm not going in there because it's off limits to everybody, including us. The old Emerson AM/FM radio is a cool thing, and then this wine chiller seems to be working. It's down to 57 degrees. We just plugged it in this afternoon to make sure. And there's a 1960s impressionism of bottles of wine to go with it. Is this the biggest, best sale you've done? Oh, no. In Florida, we did a sale in Tampa that the house had been occupied. It was in Hyde Park, which is where all the old 1910s houses are, and it had been occupied by the same family since 1965, and that sale was phenomenal. They had lived in Arizona. They had all sorts of Navajo art and jewelry and a collection of guns and an incredible anvil and just amazing things. This is definitely one of the more lengthy setups I've done, but I've done some out in Seattle that took twice as long as this and were twice as full. So, yeah, when you get a big one, it can really be profitable, but you sure work for it. I'm going to try to fix this little kick plate on this door if I can, just enough to shut it for you. Sorry about any blur. This is a notch cabinet. These would come with a kitchen queen in your pantry, and they'd go next to the chimney. There was usually a little notch you could put them in. This has been painted over, but it says Marshall Field and Company on that tag. And I think whoever gets this will probably strip it. And I'm finding that a lot of people like these because it's convenient for extra space. And yes, must pay helpers and such. Yeah, it really took a lot. My payroll's very high on this sale. This is a Russian folding bicycle, which we'll take out and put outside in the morning, but I left it hanging because hanging these is so that you don't make the tires go bad if you're not using them, and that's why they hung that. So that was a pretty good idea on their part. And it will be very dark and hard to see in here because there's not a lot of light. We'll have the door open tomorrow, but this garage is stuffed full of tools, stuffed full of all sorts of things. Tools and parts and plumbing supplies and some power tools in the box and a lot of hand tools and a whole lot of other stuff. And yes, Marshall Fields really was amazing. They've only recently gone away, and that's a shame because they really were a good store. I will try to do some follow-ups as the estate sale goes on so you can see how we do. There's so much stuff here. I don't expect to sell it all, but I expect to sell between 50 and 65%. I think we will have a lot of fun. I'm glad this gives you some insight on how we prepare estate sales, you know, gathering things and putting like items together, also making sure the signage is good, and just digging out all of this stuff. It's quite an adventure. So I'm kind of tired. The sale starts tomorrow. I need to go get some rest, and so I'll see you all then. But thank you so much, and have fun, and maybe if you can't get to this estate sale, maybe there's something fun in your area that you can go do like this weekend. So in these unprecedented times, I will speak briefly about safety protocols. I put a huge bottle of sanitizer at the front door saying, must use before entry. I posted the local ordinance for face coverings, and I made sure that people, thankfully this was a big huge house with high ceilings, we were able to turn on every fan, we were able to open all the doors and windows, we were able to have people go outside, and it was big enough that, and we set it up very deliberately if you pay attention, so that people could look and get past each other without being too close. And by doing all of those things, we had a very safe sale. So while I'm thinking of it, please comment in the space below here and also hit the thumbs up button to like this video. If you haven't subscribed, click the subscribe button below. Also hit the bell below to be notified of new videos coming every Monday and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And thank you so much for following along. Let's go back to this video. I am here at this lovely house at Grove Street in Seminole, Florida, and we've been having an estate sale the last 2 days. And we are going to have half off day tomorrow for day 3. Let me show you what's left. There is quite a bit left for tomorrow. Even though we've sold a ton, we actually have sold a lot. But this house was a, well, hoarded situation. So there was a lot to begin with. I'm going to start in the upstairs because that's where the garage is. After I show you this really fun parrot here. We have a whole bunch of these Josephine Ann Smith parrot prints in various different colors. It'd be fun to frame a bunch and have them sort of day glow on a wall. I always try not to display anything near the staircases for safety reasons. So all of the clothes, unless they're priced higher, are going to be like $1.50 a piece. I mean, there's going to be some really good deals. We've got this nice cheval mirror here, and it's only going to be $20 with the hand painting. I thought that was a pretty piece. Yes, the mirror is lovely, and I don't know, I could probably get it in your car. I'm pretty good at that sort of thing. We just unscrew the hinges, and I'll bet I could slip it in there in 2 parts. We still have the Swarovski crystal, although I do have an offer on it. The chandelier here. We really sold a lot of purses. The bedroom set you see here has actually sold. A lot of things are being picked up over the weekend, including the '89 Lincoln Continental, which also sold, and I'm really happy because it's going to a mechanic who knows what to do with it. Now, we've tried to keep things as straight and organized as possible, but you know, we've had probably 1,000 people through here already this weekend, and things just get topsy-turvy. The little black vase from the 80s with the calla lilies and black together were a really big thing in the 1980s, so that's kind of a quintessential 80s display there. If your reseller's looking for nice clothes, Florida is a great place to buy clothing because people move here, they bring all of their good stuff from up north or the Midwest or places that are cold weather where people wear heavier, nicer, fancier clothing, and then they get here and they realize they're never going to wear it because it's nice here most of the time. And you don't need it in the weather, and it's very casual. So you don't wear formal shoes like these. That's why you see a lot of shoes here that have never been worn before. Here's an aerial shot of the Florida room. What are some things that will be good buys tomorrow? I think a lot of these porcelain tea sets are interesting because they're from Russia. And so they aren't things that we really have seen that often in the United States. And they're late 60s and early 70s colors and styles. So they do have a retro appeal. But because we're in holiday season, I also expect that some of these boxed items are going to go. We have a brand new toaster oven that's never been out of the box. It's going to be $5. We have a crystal wine set from Shannon Crystal, 24% lead crystal. It's going to be $10. The Gelavia has never been out of the box. It'll be $10. More recent vintage, but I believe this is Murano glass with the smoky gray color. And that's only going to be priced at $4 tomorrow. Those are some good values for money. It looks like we could have another 3-day sale. Yes, there was talk of that originally, that maybe we should do this over 2 weekends, 1 weekend full price and 1 weekend half price. But I think you'll be surprised. As much as is here now, a ton of this is going to sell first thing tomorrow. People who've been here, we've had people who've been here both days and they're going to come back for day 3. One thing that surprises me is that this metal drawer, this is still here, and these are pretty popular right now, so I suspect a reseller dealer probably in the area will come get that tomorrow. I just didn't want to do another weekend here. I just want to blow it out tomorrow and let people have a good deal and go home. This is Oleg Cassini. It's only going to be $15 tomorrow. It is so soft. A lot of the things we put on the front tables are gone already. There is some vintage left, but not necessarily a ton of it. I like these. We took them out of another cabinet today. I just think they're fun. They're the bridge set, and so when you look in the bottom, you see hearts and spades and all that sort of stuff. I do estate sales in Seattle, Washington with a partner under the name Complete Estate Sales. I do sales in Florida as Tampa Bay Total Estate Sales, and I do estate sales in Kentucky as Western Kentucky Estate Sales. I've been doing estate sales for about 20 some years, and I started conducting them because I used to go to other people's in Seattle and think, why don't they have more customer service? Why don't they have boxes for people? Why don't they hold things for people? I just had all these ideas I didn't see people doing, and I thought, well, if I think I'm so smart, I ought to try it myself, and it's turned out to be a great business. I've done sales in 7 different states. I've done them in Maryland, I've done them in Tennessee, I've done them in Oregon. So have sale, will travel. There's some vintage things on this table still. The House art trays with the bounty and the little airplanes I think are neat from the 60s and 70s. This is shearwater pottery, which I believe is made in Mississippi. That's a nice piece with the drip glaze. There's a little bit of Israeli brass and related items. We've got one military medal and a Cadillac grill badge there, and we still have some lighters. That's a Ronson right there. We still have the Rocket Daisy ice crusher, and we also still have this really neat L.C. Smith typewriter from about 1910 next to the delightfully decaying rabbit concrete sculpture. Tomorrow afternoon, a lot of this will be gone. We've got a really good desk chair. These cost $100 new. We have it at $50, and then $25 is tomorrow's price. Do we take the best of the stragglers and eBay it? I would say every time I do a sale like this, I think that's exactly what we're going to do, and then most of the good stuff actually sells, and I don't bother with eBaying it. Sometimes the client might eBay a few things, but generally, truthfully, usually by the end of the sale, the stuff that really should have sold is gone, and a lot of what you're looking at is donation. But we still have some cool stuff. We still have a pair of handcuffs. They don't have a key, though, so I guess use once and then, well, you better really want someone to be locked up. It still looks like there's piles and piles of stuff, but you would not believe the piles and piles we've sold. One notable thing that's missing that was hanging on those hooks was that Russian bicycle. That was the first thing that sold the first day of the sale, and it went to a collector who loves bicycles, and he had a tattoo of a bicycle on his bicep, so we knew he was really serious, so we were glad he got it. You know, there are some bargains for resellers here, and that's fine. That is what half price day is about, because I have learned over the years when you have 3 days to sell everything in a house, you're going to sell a lot of stuff at full price the first 2 days, but if you want to get rid of this kind of volume, you need to blow it out on the last day, and that is exactly what we're going to do. I'm at the estate sale house. This was the half off day, the third and final day of the sale, and we're not doing the clean out. I am beat, absolutely. I probably look it too. I am tired and dirty, but it was very successful. I think the client will be happy. I'm certainly happy. I'm going to show you what's left, and in some ways it isn't. So the car did sell, and it's going to a good home. When we started, this garage was heaping full. There's still a lot, but it's kind of an ordinary amount of what's in a garage. We took our tables out and had to put things on the floor. So it does look messy at the end of a sale, but the next stage of this sale is going to be clean out. Under ordinary circumstances, would be able to have someone come in at the end and take a whole lot of the stuff that you're seeing left at a bulk price. We didn't have that option right now because the local flea markets are all closed still. And until the flea markets are operating and the people who sell at flea markets have a way to take a bunch of stuff that they buy at an estate and blow it out the next weekend, we don't have that usual buyer of last resort. And for that reason, the client who wanted to go through everything and decide based on what was left at the prices we put on was planning to have a follow-up garage sale for whatever remained the next week. You notice a white cabinet that was there, that sold today.
So we did sell some furniture pieces in the garage as well as a whole lot of stuff. I mean, I actually see some empty shelves. And considering this garage was stacked practically floor to ceiling 10 days ago, I feel pretty good about that. Let me shut the garage door while I go in the house here. And so you'll get to hear that whir. This is a big pile of boxes. This used to have a table and mirrors and all sorts of other stuff, but they all sold. They are gone. It's great. We didn't sell any vacuum cleaners, but we did sell a lot of other stuff. We did sell some of the clothes out of here. We sold all the baseball cards that were on that table there, so that was good. There were 2 big leather couches here when we started. They are gone. I brought furniture in from other places to fill in. We always like to fill in during an estate and try to bring the next best thing to where it can be seen. We had tables full of stuff here this morning, and the tables and most of the stuff are gone. So we did pretty well there. This cabinet still looks pretty full, but it's actually mostly different stuff than it was yesterday. We just kept moving things forward. The cabinet itself didn't sell. It's a beautiful cabinet, but cabinets are kind of tough right now because a lot of people aren't buying them. It's a little dark in this room because there's no chandelier anymore. And yes, a lot is gone, and yes, a lot is still here. But we did have some success. There used to be a shelf full of things right here, and the shelf and the things on it are gone. The paintings of Paris both sold today, so they're gone. The kitchen is definitely, decidedly, it was such a full house, exactly. And you'll notice the kitchen, there's still stuff all over the counters, but we did have a good sale, and a whole lot of the stuff is gone. It kind of looks like a normal estate sale that you would be just starting on the first day at this point. So I think that's kind of funny. This cabinet, again, it looks very full, but we kept bringing things from other places to fill it. Again, just hard to sell cabinets these days, and a lot of this furniture here was pretty worn. You know, they raised kids and the whole thing here, so it was pretty beaten up. I'm not surprised that that didn't go, but we sold most of the stuff that was new in box. One more weekend and you'd have it empty. Yeah, that's true. And it might be that someone would like to come back and do that. I have to be honest, I've had my 2 weeks here and I'm done. I don't have any more energy for it. But they might have someone come in and do a 1 weekend sale. If it were me, honestly, I'd make everything $1. Just get rid of it all. We had the scrap metal dealer come at the end of the day, and he took the old computer towers and the old obsolete televisions and all that kind of stuff. So really, you can't see much in here. There's not a lot left in here. There's a big empty spot where the computer used to be. This room still looks pretty full, but we sold bins of toys today, probably 2 or 3 bins. And part of the reason this looks so full is there was a big rolling rack full of stuff. The rolling rack sold, and there used to be sitting there, Kentucky Needs You. Yes, well, I do this in Kentucky too, actually. I am Western Kentucky estate sales there, and I've done some pretty good sales. There was a metal file cabinet here with all those little file drawers, and that sold. And the stuff that's left, honestly, is a lot of $1 and $2 stuff. We sold a ton of books today. A lot of the books were written in Russian because this family came from Latvia originally and they brought books with them. We sold over half the books. I was really pleased. We had a Russian speaker who came in and understood what they were and saw the value in them, which was great. There was a piece over there that's missing. So, you know, you will see some holes as we go through. Now this room, we didn't do as great in because they had minimums on a lot of this stuff. And I just want to tell you, if you're having someone do an estate sale for you, it's tempting to put reserves on things, especially when you spent money on them and you feel like, well, they're special to me, or I know those were expensive. You know, they had $500 on the 2 amps and the mixing board, and that's not a bad price if you're a professional musician. I used to be a semi-professional musician. But the problem is that you really have to look at the big picture. If we had been able to discount these a little, we would have sold most of them. I had someone who was willing to pay $500 for the 4 speakers, which was really only a couple hundred off, but I couldn't take it because the client bound my hands. And so if you're having an estate sale, really think twice. Sometimes you want them to go ahead and discount a little because if they bundle it, then they can get the people to buy more. And so
And the guy who made the offer on the stereo equipment was the guy who bought the car, so I know he had the money for it. You'll see some pretty big empty spaces here, entire shelving units that are almost empty that were just crowded with merchandise at the beginning, so I'm happy about that. And this room, when we first walked in, was just stacked with boxes. This is the first time the center of the floor has been seen in 15 years, I was told. The entertainment center, you'll see big holes in that. Practically everything on it sold. We put different things on and elevated things. We're always bringing things up to eye level during a sale. And then we're going to go back here, because if you remember, we had stuff all the way out to the water out here. And now we have 1 or 2 lonely patio chairs and some boxes of just general household stuff and pet stuff. And there's still fishing rods and some things like that, but we really got rid of a lot, and I'm really happy for them about that. I thought we were going to sell the concrete benches. Those are about the only things left that I personally like and had a strong feeling towards. Is there anything good left at all? I have to say, honestly, I would say no. The furniture that's left is all kind of dated and worn. The items and objects that are left are mostly, there's things resellers could make money on if they were cheap, and they were cheap today, and we sold a ton to resellers. Almost all of the good things. There's one oil painting that's an original that I think is nice. There might be a few nice clothes, but I think we did a good job in a short time frame. We've had the house since a week ago Tuesday, so we did all of this in about 11 days. These couches were covered with clothes, and now you can see the couches, so I feel good about that. And we took out a big huge rack that had clothing on it. So we really sold quite a bit of clothing, which was nice, and we sold a ton of their purses. There's some left, but not a lot. So what happens to all that's left? Well, it depends on the situation. This one was so hard and there was so much pre-cleaning that I'm not doing the clean out on this one. They're going to have someone help them pack, and then Salvation Army or St. Vincent can come in and take the rest as donation. There's a big heap of pillows on the floor. They weren't on the floor, but I cleared them off of the furniture because someone's coming to pick up this bedroom set tomorrow. So this room will be basically empty other than clothes and a bunch of pillows. So all in all, I feel good about how it went.
Well, in the end, we were really happy with how the estate sale turned out. Our sales were in the 5 figures. We hit all of our numbers. We were able to sell the car at the reserve price, and some of the other things went at the reserve price as well. I was told there was no way we would sell a sailfish for the price we got for it, but we did. I was happy to see it went home as a Christmas present for someone. Not everybody who buys at an estate sale is buying for resale or because they're a bargain hunter. Some people are buying things because they just like them, because they have the house across the street that has a similar layout and they know right where it's going to fit and how it'll look. There are different motivations for people coming to estate sales. You've got bargain hunters, you have resellers, you have antique dealers, you have people who are buying because they need it for their house. You have people who are buying sometimes in bulk to send overseas. I have one client who sends clothes to the Philippines, for example. So you never know what people's motivation is. You just put it out and hope that they have fun and buy a bunch of stuff. And in this case, they sure did. And we were very thankful for that. And so was our client.
We had a lot of fun. And just for a little more fun, I'm going to wrap up by showing you one last loving look at the sunset, because that's happening right now. So we'll go out on the upper deck here if we can. There we go. And show you the lovely view out into Boca Chica Bay here in St. Petersburg, Florida. I'm actually in Seminole, but close to St. Pete. So there's our sunset. You can see a speedboat off in the distance there. It's just very refreshing to see something like this at the end of the day and the end of a long process of an estate sale. So if you've been following us, that gives you a pretty good idea of what I do when I do an estate sale. And I'm going to flip the camera here. I don't have another estate sale planned until January, and that's out in Washington State. So
we'll have some interesting things to show you from there as well. I just thank you so much for joining us. And this is George the Antique Nomad. I'm on Periscope, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Thank you so much, and safe travels to all of you too. Bye-bye now, and we'll see you again.
Thanks for joining me again in the fun and fascinating antique community here where online meets the real world. Please click the subscribe button below, click the bell to be notified when new videos upload, leave a comment below, and hit thumbs up to like this video. Links to our online social media daily posts and our items for sale are in the description. This is George at the Antique Nomad. Bye for now.